Welcome back to the Commanders Declassified podcast. I am your host, Brian. I am not LE. He is being the awesome dad that he is, coaching his kids' soccer game. So we will see him this weekend after on the post game after this Sunday's matchup. Eric, how are you, man?
I'm still high on the fumes of victory, so I'm
That's
feeling
right.
good right now.
Victory Monday.
It's
We
much better today than it was yesterday, actually.
Absolutely. Victory Mondays for us are few and far between, unfortunately, but when we do get them, they are good and they are sweet. So that's awesome. We've got a big show tonight, man. We've got a new sponsor for the show. DraftKings Sportsbook is the sponsor of tonight's episode, man. That's a big deal. And to start us off, I think you've got some information to tell everybody about DraftKings.
Yes, DraftKings is bringing you Commanders Declassified podcast this evening, and they would like me to announce that DraftKings Sportsbook, one of America's top-rated sportsbook apps, is coming to Maryland. But you don't have to wait to get on the action. It's not quite live yet, but right now, new customers who sign up with the code CDP11, that is Commanders Declassified Podcast 11, CDP11, they receive $200 in free bets on launch day after registering. Plus, 5 lucky customers win a $100,000 free bet on launch day. It won't be long until you can bet same game parlays, money lines, props, spreads, and more, all in Maryland. It's coming to you soon with DraftKings Sportsbook. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Sign up with the code CDP11. That is CDP as in Commanders Declassified Podcast 11. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Please play responsibly. For help, visit mdgamblinghelp.org or call 1-800-GAMBLER. 21 plus only, physically present in Maryland. Eligibility restrictions apply, subject to regulatory gaming or licensing requirements. See DraftKings.com/D/MD for full terms and conditions. One per customer. Bonus issued as a free bet. No purchase necessary for the sweepstakes. Void where prohibited. Ends on the first day DraftKings is allowed to operate in Maryland. See terms at dkng.co/MD. Thank you to the folks at DraftKings Sportsbook for helping us out tonight.
Absolutely, that is awesome, and very excited to be working with DraftKings here. And Eric, we've got a big game with Indianapolis this Sunday. A lot of storylines, some of it off the field stuff, some of it on the field stuff. But just first thoughts before we get into breaking down this matchup against the Indianapolis Colts. They're 3-3 and one tie. We're 3-4. Just all the stuff with these two teams, off season, on the field, everything. Just kind of quick thoughts before we get into it.
Well, it is not exactly the matchup we were expecting. When the schedule was released, for sure, it was the Carson Wentz revenge game, and then Carson Wentz versus his replacement, Matt Ryan, who some idiot on this podcast was stumping for all off after the last 2 years. What a moron. So, yeah, we're not getting that. We're getting Taylor Heineke versus Sam Ellinger. Is it Ellinger or it's Ellinger?
Ellinger.
Yeah. Okay, I don't know. It's like Kim Basic or Kim Bassinger. I never knew. I'm not going to bother to learn it. He's going to be out of the league in 2 years. But yeah, that's the backup quarterback extravaganza this weekend. We'll see how it goes. It's a chance for our home team, the Commanders, to get to 500. Which would be a big deal after a 1-4 start. Wouldn't be a bad thing to be riding a 3-game win streak and possibly 2-0 under Taylor Heineke, and going in with a backup quarterback. You would think would give an advantage, but really does it because the offense has been so horrific, led by Matt Ryan. I don't think there's anywhere really to go but up. So we'll see. I can't wait to see. I can't wait to see what this looks like. It just could be a beautiful disaster this Sunday.
Yeah, I think you're right. Right, there was so much going into this game with all the comments that the Colts owner made about Carson Wentz being the issue, being the problem. This was setting up to be one of those kind of all eyeballs on this game. Can Carson Wentz, prove it to Indianapolis that they made that wrong decision? And literally the opposite has happened. Right, their quarterback Matt Ryan, who I think the Colts let him down severely. They didn't have the offensive line that they had. They don't run the football like they thought they were going to, and now he's benched. We'll get into that here in a little bit, but. Carson, of course, hand injury. He's out now for a little while. Who knows how long that'll be? Now it's going to be the tale of these two backups. So, very, very, different story going into this week. But let's get down to it. So, how are the Indianapolis Colts, their defense, going to try to stop this Taylor Heineke led offense now that will be a little bit different looking, as we saw this past Sunday, as we saw yesterday, as opposed to kind of those first couple of games with Carson. So, I think the first thing is the Indianapolis Colts defense is really good. Despite their record, they're 3-3-1. And some of the struggles that they've had, their defense is pretty good. The problem is their offense hasn't been good, so that defense has been on the field a lot. They have had to play and play and play and play, and after a certain amount of time, defenses just get worn down. They just can't, sustain that high level play. So one of the things we're going to need to look out for is their defensive line. They've got a couple of guys on there who are legitimate studs, good players. The first guy to note, defensive tackle DeForest Buckner. He is a man. He is a really good interior defender. He can rush the passer. He can stop the run. So Andrew Norwell, Tyler Larson, and Sadiq Charles are going to need to know where he lines up because he'll move up and down that line depending on where the Colts think that he's got a better matchup. So we need to pay attention to him. Also, defensive end, Kwity Paye and Yannick Ngakoue. Yannick Ngakoue, we've seen his name for several years now. He's a solid pass rusher, and so is Kwity Paye. He's also another guy who can rush the passer as well. They've got another interior defender, Grover Stewart. He actually had like 12 tackles on Sunday against the Titans in their run-oriented Derrick Henry attack. But those guys we do need to pay attention to. Linebacker, the first name I would say is Shaquille Leonard, aka Darius Leonard, but it looks like he may not play. He didn't play this past weekend, so we'll see if his status changes during the week. But he is an excellent middle linebacker. He is a sideline to sideline player, and he is smart and aggressive. So if he's on the field, we definitely need to know where he is. Bobby Kirky or something like that. I can't say that last name, but he's another solid linebacker that we do need to pay attention to. Secondary wise, they've got some solid players back there. Probably the big name is Stephon Gilmore, cornerback. He is a legitimate top corner in the league. Maybe some of his better days maybe behind him, but he is still really good. So we do need to pay attention to him and who and where he lines up on as well. But again, defenses are going to try to, play tight on the outside, and they are going to try to put pressure on us. Maybe a little bit different now with Taylor Heineke and his ability to run and scramble and make some plays. We'll see how much they try to pressure us, but I still think that formula holds true for us in terms of opposing defenses out there. Eric, what do you think about the Colts on offense and kind of what we've got to do on the other side of the football?
Well, it's kind of a wild card this week because we don't really know a lot about Sam Ellinger as a quarterback. He doesn't have a huge arm. He does have, going back to his college days, does have some mobility. I believe you accurately described him as like a Colt McCoy clone. Maybe a slight. Does he have a little better arm than McCoy? But he's kind of got that gunslinger mentality, and he's not necessarily a runner, but he's got some mobility. He's kind of an escape artist. A little bit of Heineke in him probably. But we'll see because it's, he's been in the league, but this is his second year, I believe, in the NFL, and he hasn't really seen a lot of playing time. So we'll see what we've got there. I can tell you what the Colts should do is run the ball with their stud running back Jonathan Taylor, who was I believe the NFL's leading rusher last season, and he is not this year. He's only got 386 yards in 7 games. He's not getting a ton of carries. He's only at 91 carries on the season. They also have a stable of running backs behind him: Phillip Lindsay, Deion Jackson, Naeem Hines, all capable running backs, but they're just not using them, and that could be a result of the passing game being so poor that teams are just not allowing them to run because they can stack the box, which I believe our defense should do. So I'm a little curious as to what this is going to look like. Paris Campbell has got 2 really good games in a row. He was Terry McLaurin's teammate and Curtis Samuel's at Ohio State a few years ago, and he's kind of been a little bit of a dud in the NFL since he came in, but he's had a lot of injuries. He's really taken off the last couple of weeks. He's had some really nice grabs. That is something to watch for because our secondary, of course, is prone to the big play. And if Sam Ehlinger can move the pocket around or can, get away from that initial pass rush and just kind of throw a YOLO ball, we've been burned on those plenty of times this year. So that is something to keep an eye out. Michael Pittman had I want to say, did he get injured last week? I didn't get enough research on that. I know he did. He had a couple of drops this week, but he's been a pretty productive receiver, no matter who his quarterback's been the last couple of years. So, you have to look for him too. He is another big play threat, a big, strong receiver who can get downfield. So that's definitely something to watch for. This offense is probably going to, if they're not, focusing on running the ball for whatever reason, they're going to try to live and die by big plays. Our defense is susceptible to big plays, so that is something to look out for. If I am Jack Del Rio calling this game this weekend, I'm definitely stacking the box. I am going to make Sam Ehlinger beat me because he has never shown that he can do that. And if he does, he does. We make adjustments based on that, but we're getting after him in the passing game, and we are keying on the run game. We're going to do everything we can. Jamin Davis, Cole Holcomb, a lot of run blitzes. We're going to really pressure them to throw the football because that, I would hope, isn't something that they would want to do with a quarterback who's as green as Sam Ehlinger is. But maybe they know something the rest of the league doesn't, and that's why he's starting this weekend. So yeah, we'll see what they do. But I know I would stop the run and make Sam Ehlinger beat me.
Yeah, no, I think you're right, and I think you mentioned 2 good points there about their receiving core, especially Paris Campbell. Yeah, I had high hopes for him coming out of Ohio State. He was going to be that next Curtis Samuel, Swiss Army kind of explosive type player, and that just hasn't happened yet. And I know a lot of people were hoping Michael Pittman that he was going to take the next step with what he was able to do last year with Carson Wentz. There hasn't really kind of been the case so far this year. But just going off that last game, Paris Campbell, 12 targets, 10 catches, 70 yards. Michael Pittman, 9 targets, 6 catches, 58 yards. And that may just be Matt Ryan and where he wanted to kind of focus his throws to, and maybe that might change with Sam Ehlinger coming in there. But it kind of seems that those 2 guys are where their passing game revolves around. And Paris Campbell, very similar in that Curtis Samuel type role where he gets a lot of catches, but maybe not a lot of the yards after the catch. It sounds like their attack is very much kind of focused at the line of scrimmage in terms of their pass game, which is something we're familiar with here. So, no, I agree with all that. You've got to make Sam Ehlinger earn it on the outside.
And if I'm the Colts, I'm going to go ahead and kind of take a page out of the Packers playbook last week. I'm going to get the ball out of Ehlinger's hands very quickly. Going to go to a lot of quick wide receiver screen type plays, a lot of slants. We're going to utilize Mo Alley Cox, the tight end. But yeah, I think the goal in the passing game is going to be to get the ball out of his hand as quickly as possible, which again, if you're keying on the run, things could open up behind you in that case. So our guys definitely have to be ready, specifically our safeties, and always the threat of the deep ball is going to be there with those 2 outside receivers.
Absolutely. We can't forget about that. Eric, with this game, I mean, this is an important game for the Commanders in terms of getting back to 500 and continuing to keep their season alive, keep our season alive. If we want to have any hopes of having a winning record, making playoffs, we've got to keep this alive. We've got to win this game. So what are the 3 ways we can win this game, and what are the 3 ways we can lose this game on Sunday?
All right. I'm a negative person, so I always start with 3 ways that we can lose this game. We get away from what we did last week. We get if Scott Turner goes all Scott Turner on us and gets pass happy against this defensive front. And if Shaq Leonard, who I'm very upset that I had to learn a new name, if he is back, he's just another weapon for them. He's my favorite probably linebacker in the league that doesn't play for us. So if we decide to start throwing the ball 35, 40 times with Taylor Heineke and ignore our two stud running backs, we're going to have a very, very, very long day. If we are unable to make Sam Ehlinger uncomfortable in the pocket when he does pass, we're going to have to get quick pressure. Our defensive tackles really need to push up front, and the offensive line for the Colts that's been so good in years past has really been a liability this year. And I think Ellinger's mobility may be a part of the reason why he is now starting over Matt Ryan. But if we can't get him off the spot, make him uncomfortable in the pocket, it is again going to be a long day. And if we give up big plays in the passing game, because I can't stress enough that the two receivers they have are very capable of getting behind our safeties and corners, and they know what to do with the ball once it's in their hands. So if we give up big plays, this is not going to be a good game for us. Now, as far as how we win, well, it's pretty much the opposite of that. We need to really follow the game plan like we did against the Packers last week. I want a lot of running, a really good mix of Gibson and Brian Robinson. We need both of those guys. Gibson, his role, getting the ball in space, getting those quick screens to him, make things happen. That's got to happen this week. We do need the occasional big play in the offense, because one thing that I think Gus Bradley is, I said last week, I have zero respect for Joe Barry, Green Bay's defensive coordinator. He proved me right, because he did exactly what I thought he was going to do, which is keep his defensive backs 10 yards off the ball and play against the deep ball, and let Taylor Heineke complete stuff so that they could come up and make tackles. And Heineke picked him apart and did end up getting a deep shot over his head at one point in the game. I think Gus Bradley's a lot smarter than that. Gus Bradley is going to crowd the line. He's going to take away that short and mid-range passing game, especially toward the sidelines that Heineke really likes to rely on. And we're going to have to get a couple of deep shots this week. So if we don't get a deep shot or two, we might be in a little bit of trouble. And finally, we have got to make sure Jonathan Taylor stays in the funk that he has been in. If we can contain Jonathan Taylor, I have a feeling you're going to get a heavy dose of him this week, because we've got a brand new quarterback. You've got to take the pressure off of your young quarterback. What better way to do that than with last year's NFL's leading rusher, who seems to be healthy, and you've just forgotten about the past couple of weeks. So we have to make sure that Jonathan Taylor is contained. Those are the three keys to victory, and I think it's doable this week. I lost your audio, buddy. Are you muted? You are. It's the Eric Show, ladies and gentlemen. While Brian figures out how to work his computer.
Sorry about that. The computer.
Gonna call his teenage son into. I don't know if you have a teenage son, but that's what you can call it. Your tech support.
I'm vastly approaching having a teenage daughter, so not quite yet.
She'll get schooled on the TikToks, but
exactly.
I still know the mute button, man.
No, I think you're exactly right, and I think a great point that you mentioned there is that big play with Ehlinger. He is a University of Texas quarterback, just like Colt McCoy, and they're very similar. Colt McCoy loves to kind of move around in the pocket, run around, and kind of make that big play, or try to look for that big play. So look for Ehlinger to kind of run around, and Paris Campbell can slip by a cornerback or a safety or whoever he's matched up on, and get deep. I mean, that's something that we absolutely got to watch out for. And hopefully they keep ignoring Jonathan Taylor, because he is an explosive back, and he really scares me more so than that big back like a Derrick Henry. I know Derrick Henry might run over 3, 4, 5 guys, but it's going to be much harder for him to kind of break away, a 60, 70-yard run. Jonathan Taylor, anywhere on the field, he can take it the distance. So one missed tackle, and that could be a 50-yard touchdown house call right there. So we do need to keep an eye on those guys and make sure that we keep them bottled up. But no, I like it. I think this is a great opportunity for us to get back to 500 and keep this thing moving in the right direction and win some games, and see if we can't make a run at the playoffs. Eric, this we just got the news today. I know we touched on it a little bit here. We're talking about Sam Ellinger, but the Colts traded draft picks for Matt Ryan. The owner stood up and said, "This is the guy. This is who we needed. Our season was going to be saved. We got that other guy out of here, Carson Wentz. This was who we needed now, and we're going to be just fine." And 7 games into the year, they benched him. And they literally said we're benching him for the rest of the year. Not even, if Ellinger plays bad, he's still the starter. So what'd you make of that news today?
Well, they were wrong about Matt Ryan. He has looked really rough throwing the football this year, and it's kind of sad because it makes me feel like I'm getting old. But guys like Matt Ryan. Look at all the really vet quarterbacks that are struggling this year that have been so good for so
Yeah,
long. Russell Wilson's terrible. I mean, Aaron Rodgers has been struggling.
Brady. Yeah,
Tom Brady's struggling. These guys
everybody.
are all these are the quarterbacks of a lot of our youths now.
Yeah,
My middle age, but whatever. It's just it's a little sad for me to see, especially since I was so in the tank for Matt Ryan for so long. Like he's been to me, he's been such an underrated player for his whole career that it's a little sad to see him kind of fall off. But he really does look like he is just cooked. So good on them for realizing their mistake and not doubling down on it, and getting him out of there and getting some fresh blood in. And it was probably the owner's decision once again, but Irsay is riding that anti Dan Snyder goodwill right now. He can do whatever he wants, and nobody's going to question him.
oh yeah,
So if he makes the call, he makes the call on Ryan. And if Ellinger comes in there and stinks it up, then it's still well, he's the guy who called out Dan Snyder, so who cares? Uh, but it's good to know that maybe the problem hasn't been quarterback. I mean, it wasn't. It was Ryan this year. It was Wentz last year. It was Rivers the year before that.
yeah. And,
Um,
and I think some of
maybe
it I think some
they're
of it is the Colts. I think they let Matt Ryan down. I mean, you have a weapon, a legitimate weapon in Jonathan Taylor, and you basically bench him, right? Like you don't use him. Like you've got an aging quarterback, an older quarterback. So let's throw it 50 times. Like, no, run it. You still got to run it. Give him some support so he doesn't have to kind of carry the team. So I think Ryan has certainly played bad. I don't think he is as awful as the Colts have made him out, just because I think they have weapons that they don't seem to be using for whatever reason with Jonathan Taylor out there.
it's that Andy Reid coaching tree. It's just so ingrained in them to throw the football. They're so pass happy, all of them. They're not big fans of the running game in general. I mean, Peterson was the same way.
Yeah.
Peterson was a little bit better, I think, he liked to run his quarterback and use RPOs a little bit more. But yeah, Reich is just kind of cut from that same mold of guys who just want. Well, I mean, it's really not even Andy Reid; it's the whole Holmgren crew, even above Andy Reid, that they just want to throw the football, and the running game is kind of an afterthought. Um, it's a little frustrating when you see somebody as talented as Jonathan Taylor, even from a distance. Like I couldn't care less about the Colts for the most part, but I like good football, and
Yeah.
I know that Jonathan Taylor is one of the best running backs in the league, and they're not giving him the ball. I don't want him to start this week.
Yeah.
Feel free
No.
to
Yeah,
feel free to
exactly.
throw it 50 times with Ellinger. I'm more than happy to watch you do that. Start running.
Yeah.
Start running him next week. But yeah, it's a little bit of a head scratcher, but it's just those guys that's just so ingrained in their DNA to just throw the football that they're not interested in. He's and Reich says, "Oh, I got a guy who's been an efficient passer his whole career. Let's chuck it all over the place with our guy who's 40 years old."
Yeah. No.
Is what it is.
Very much a head scratching decision, whether it was Frank Reich driven or, which I think a lot of people assume, it's probably Jim Irsay driven, seeing that his season's not going the way that he had told everybody over the summer that it was going to go. And that takes me to this next question. I mean, with this type of move here, looking at the Indianapolis Colts, do you think they're packing it in this season? Do you think this is a front office driven decision? And hey, we're going to evaluate younger players, and if we happen to get a high draft pick out of it because we're losing a lot, then so be it. You think they've kind of packed it in here with this stance of Ryan is not going to play for the rest of the season. We're going to 6th-round pick in Sam Ellinger.
It's so weird. I think that is the case, but it's a head scratching decision because their division is wide open.
Yeah,
I mean, what are
they're in
the
second place
Titans are
right
what, 4-3?
Yeah, they're in
And
second
they're
place.
a half game behind the Titans at with 10 games to play, and they're just like, nah, we're good.
Yeah,
We're gonna just not worry about winning for the rest of the year. Now, I don't think that's the message they're selling. Maybe, and maybe they think Ellinger gives them a better chance to win.
yeah,
It's very possible that's what they're thinking. But from the outsider's perspective, playing a guy with has he even started a game? I don't know. Very little experience in the
nope,
NFL.
nope.
Putting him in, and that's kind of like playing the lottery. But if Ryan, I mean, it could be just that they see in practice every day that Ryan is just completely done and has like nothing left in the tank, and they're trying to get a spark maybe.
Yeah,
But it is a weird decision this early in the season to if they are tanking, like they're not in a situation like the Panthers are where they were going nowhere and it was evident 2 games in,
right.
um, and they've already fired their head coach. So I think it's a strange decision. So in my head says no, they're not doing that, even though it appears that they look like they're tanking. It just doesn't make any sense for a team in their position right now to start phoning it in for the rest of the year. So I feel like they maybe think that they have something in Ellinger, and that remains to be seen, I guess.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. It looks very odd to bench the starting quarterback that you traded for, and then effectively bench your superstar running back by giving him 10 carries a football game. So very odd, but we'll see how it works out for them because, like you said, they're second in that division behind the Titans, and we've got a lot of football left to play. Something else I wanted to ask you about. We our cornerbacks on the Commanders have been playing well here the last 2 games. Most notably, William Jackson has been out in those last 2 games. He requested a trade, but he's still kind of hanging out here in DC. Do you think anything happens with him? He can't possibly stay, right? There's no way he could stay on the team.
Yeah, that would just be the most DC thing ever to not trade a
Yes,
guy and then let him walk in the offseason if he wants to
exactly.
leave. Somebody will give us something for him. So make it happen. It may just be that they want the back injury to clear up before, pulling the trigger on a trade. I don't know. But if they don't trade him and he walks in the offseason, it's in the top 5 dumbest things we've done under Rivera, because he does have value still, even at this point. Because cornerbacks, especially like J.C. Jackson, just went down this weekend. Guys are dropping all over the league, so there's
Exactly.
somebody needs him.
Yep.
It's just up to us to figure out who it is and how much we can get from them. And I think William Jackson, in the right situation, can still be good. It's just not working here.
Yeah.
So yeah, I hope that something gets done, because it just doesn't make any sense to keep a guy on the roster and let him walk in the offseason when you could, even if it's a 7th or a 6th rounder, get something for the dude.
Yeah, no, I agree. You've got a guy who, I mean, when we watch him out there, he can still run. The problem is he just is not understanding or not getting the coverages or the schemes or the techniques that they're asking him to play for whatever reason, whatever the block is there. The mental block, he's just not picking it up, but he can still run. I mean, you saw in a couple of those deep routes before he got benched, he was with the receiver. He was being a little bit grabby, getting some penalties, but he was running step for step. So, like you said, cornerbacks are going down all over the league. Somebody should give us something for him who is trying to contend this year. And we need to do it now. You're exactly right. Why let this opportunity pass us by? We've got some younger guys who are playing well now. Let's run with that. Let's get some draft picks for them and move on. Speaking of that, is there any either other player that you think we should trade or maybe trade for? Maybe, hey, you know what? We need another pass rusher, or you know what? We do need a guard or some interior line help. Is there somebody in your head you say, you know what? For this mid-season, late season push, we need this person. We need this guy.
Look, I don't know about that, but if it's me, I'm the GM. If I'm Ron Rivera, I'm trying to figure out who turned down 2 first round, or who the Carolina Panthers, or who turned down Brian Burns for 2 first round picks.
Yeah.
Like, that didn't happen. Or who offered 2 first round picks for Brian Burns. I guess that's the way. And then I'll say, well, what about Montez Sweat?
Yeah.
Because I mean, I like Montez Sweat, but I mean, I like 2 first round picks a lot more, especially with
Absolutely.
the work this team needs done in the offseason. So
Yes.
figure out who's offering up, who's that desperate for a pass rusher. And I mean, heck, maybe they'll offer something for like James Smith Williams. Who knows? Like, if they're that desperate for a pass rusher, that they're willing to give
Exactly.
up 2 first round picks for a very good pass rusher, but not I don't know, is he elite? Is he one of the top 5 or 10 in the league? Like, I know he's good. He's
I
probably
think
at
he's a
Montez Sweat level.
Yeah, I think they're very comparable, and I think maybe the one positive that Montez has that, and maybe it's not even a positive, but I think Brian Burns has been pretty injured over his career. While he does get some sacks and is productive, I think he's had a bunch of injuries so far. Montez, outside of the jaw last year, and having a kind of some of the family issues that he had last year and missing some time, he's been pretty durable, pretty healthy over his career. So I think you're right. I think they're very comparable type players. But yeah, if somebody's willing to give
Somebody
up
will
two,
give me 2 first-round picks for
I'll take
Montez
it.
Sweat, I'm taking it. I mean, I love Montez. I'd like to see
Yeah,
him be here his whole career, but, I mean, you gotta be smart. If somebody's offering that much, if they're that
yeah.
interested in a pass rusher and you have somebody very comparable to Brian Burns, kick the tires, at least make the call, unless it was us that offered 2 first-round picks for him.
Yeah, well,
That
Ron
was
loves his Carolina guys, so
yeah.
that may very well have been us, and we may have dodged the bullet not having traded a bunch of draft picks for that. But we touched on it a little bit going over the breakdown here, but we saw the offense, for better or for worse, it looked different than how it looked with Carson Wentz these previous 6 games here. Ellie mentioned it on the post game pod. There were a lot more slants, crossing routes, rub routes, all those types of routes that we had talked about the previous weeks that were kind of missing from the was just missing them. But we saw them on Sunday, and Heineke hit a bunch of them in that second half. What do you think about the this kind of change in the offense here? Do you think it sticks?
I do. I think we with Heineke, you just see the difference. The main difference is his familiarity with the system. This is his like 4th year with the system, and that's a huge difference. And I'm not sure, over the course of his career, how comfortable Wentz has been with throwing stuff in the middle of the field, like the crossers and slants. They're really efficient routes, and he should be throwing them because that's basic NFL offense. But yeah, I do think that Heineke's skill set and is made up for, or kind of his deficiencies are made up for just by his familiarity with the offense, the ability to know where to go with the football and get it out quickly. I think that's huge, and I don't know that a lot of fans realize how important that is. Again, I don't know that Heineke's the savior of this team by any stretch of the imagination, but he is a high end backup, low end starter, and if you need him for 4 or 5 games in the middle of the season, you can do a lot worse. So I look forward to seeing the offense. I don't think it's going to be all lollipops and roses or whatever the saying is with him. I think you're going to see a lot of ups and downs with him just because you do, and offenses and defenses are going to adjust to him. But this early on in this, only his second start, I think there's still potential for a lot of good things to happen with the offense. He can hopefully he can avoid the slow start like he had last week because that was rough in the first half. But yeah, I'm excited to see what they do on offense. I think it is more diverse just because not that he's a better quarterback than Wentz, but he's much more versed in what we do on offense here than Carson Wentz is. I got no audio with you again. I don't know what's going on. It might be me. Oh, you're muted again. Nope, now you're not muted. All right, this has been Commander's Declassified Podcast. I don't know what's going on with the audio here, but I think we look forward to it. We're going to have a big game this week. It's going to be a fun watch. I think we have a very good chance. Brian, sign language, what is your final prediction? What's your score prediction? And try to unmute yourself again to talk. Nope, I need the sign language. Or you can text it to me. He's got to win, or he's doing the Waka Flocka flame. No hands. All right. So for my prediction, I do have Washington winning this week. I like the matchup. I like the first game against Sam Ellinger. I think this offense can put points on the board against their defense. And I think more importantly, our defense can hold their offense to a limited number of points. So I am going to go. I'm going to go 24-14 Commanders this weekend. I think this is probably our most convincing win of the season coming up. And Brian has us at 25-18 Commanders. That probably will be the first time in NFL history that score has been achieved in a game. But 25-18 Commanders is Brian's pick. And Ellie says it's a win, and Commanders will win 264-0. I might have just made that up. And so yeah, we still don't have audio from Brian, so I think we're going to go ahead and call it a night here. So thank you guys all for listening. Give us a like and subscribe. Hit us up on all the podcatchers: Apple Podcast, Amazon Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, and probably some that I've never heard of. Get us on YouTube. We want to get to 1,000 subscribers this year. And you can help us doing that. We're getting closer and closer every day, but we do need likes and subscribes. So please hit us up on YouTube, leave a comment, hit us up on Twitter. You got Brian there, Mr. Who Won, myself, eTrod42, and I've been on Twitter for like 6 days in a row, which might be a new record. Yep. And of course, up there is Brian. He's back.
Sorry about that. I'm back, well, at least for the next few minutes. But yes, Commanders win. Check out the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Use the promo code CDP11. That's CDP11, Commanders Declassified Podcast 11, for 200 free bets. And we will see you guys after the game on Sunday. Eric, last words to you.
We're going to get this dub. We back at 500 this week, 24-14. Commanders.
There you go. See ya.